All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of ECH Postgame Live. As you may have noticed, it's me, RJ, instead of Dylan. Dylan has gone down to perform my normal role of asking the players and the coaches some questions. So excited to have him come and join us in a little bit here after he's done talking to everybody. And that's why I guess there was a little bit of a delay getting on here, just kind of getting used to things. With this setup here, I'm not used to it, actually. This is a different spot in the press box than I usually am, but happy to join everyone here and for a hard fought point, but obviously not the result that anybody wanted still with the loss. But I think there's a lot of positives to take out of this game. And everyone, let me know too if you can hear me all right, because it's a different speaker setup here. I'm going to try and go to the bottom of chat here. All right, cool. I don't see anyone saying they can't hear me, so that's good. But yeah, just a tough overtime loss, but I think there's a lot to like and a lot to be proud of from this game. As we can get right into the chat here, we got some super chats. First one from Light. These kinds of losses early season matter, both as moral victories and because it says a lot about this team. They are not last year's Kraken anymore. I agree completely, Light. This is not last year's Kraken team, who I think once the Jets came back and took the lead, last year's team probably would have gone away and you wouldn't have seen as much fight from them. But again, this team is different, but it feels a lot like Dan Bylsma's Firebirds team. For those who watched Firebirds hockey the last couple of years or followed that team, this is the kind of fight that team had in it, night in and night out. And I think that's the thing that Dylan was so excited to go and ask Dan and ask the others about as well. Because I mean, it's a type of comeback that we just didn't really see against a team caliber like this that you just wouldn't see last year. Next super chat from Coop. I love Matty B so much. Two-way battle back. I love it. Yeah, that has to be maybe the first player that we talk about tonight is Matty Beniers. This is the best game I've seen from him in a long time. And it's not just the goals, because I mean, he was a man on a mission offensively tonight, but it's the play in all three zones. We saw the defensive play that we know and love from Matty Beniers. And I had to clip it. There was a time where he beat Nino Niederreiter in that one-on-one battle down along his own end boards. And that's the kind of battle we saw from him everywhere on the ice tonight. He looked faster than usual. He looked stronger than usual. Something clicked for him tonight. And I'm excited to hear, because I'm sure they're going to talk to Matty Beniers. I'm excited to hear from Dylan what he felt like it was that just clicked tonight, because this is a fantastic game from Matty Beniers. And you just had the feeling he was going to do something late in this game to get him back in it. And he certainly did. Scrolling up here to the top of chat, we've got B. Well, Matty had himself a game. He sure did. Definitely, Sarah, we did well, I think, and we at least earned a point. Yeah, I'm glad everyone's kind of seeing the positives from this game, because this is a tough Jets team that the Kraken played against, a team that is built to defend leads, by the way, with Connor Hellebuck in net and their defensive structure. And the Kraken just didn't go away, and they managed to get a point, which, the way things are shaping up, it feels like every point's really going to matter as it comes down to it in the season. It feels like the Kraken probably going to be really close in that playoff race at the very end. And we might look back at this point as one that made the difference. Viren, we got a point now. Let's talk Matty. Absolutely. I mean, so much to say about Matty Beniers. And then Zoe, Matty good, refs bad. And Shane O right here. Why can't we draw penalties? Is it luck or not playing physical enough? I mean, I think you go back to last game, and I think that's just one where the officiating was unusually kind of one-sided on those soft calls. I will say the Kraken did a fantastic job staying out of the box in this one. That's something that Dan Bylsma highlighted this morning when going into this game, because the Jets came into this game with the league's best power play, a very dangerous power play, and the Kraken largely stayed out of the box. You had that one Ty Karche penalty where, yeah, kind of a bad one to take so far from your own net, but that's the only one, and you kill it off in convincing fashion. So I think the Kraken did a really good job with that. You know, they get more power plays than they're killing penalties. I thought, yeah, the call at the end there, in overtime, I don't know about. I turned to Dylan and I said, I'm not sure about that one. So that's a big one in that time of the game, but it's, I don't think it's anything. I haven't seen a replay of it too. I'm hesitant to comment on it because I haven't seen it back twice because I had to start setting everything up right away. Same thing with that final goal on Joey. It looked to me at first glance like it just leaked through him, but I couldn't tell if it was tipped or not. Super chat here from Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. Great game and great atmosphere at CPA. Love y'all. Love you too, Andrew. And it was an awesome atmosphere tonight in this one, especially as the comeback was underway. Every time Maddie touched the puck, it felt like the crowd's anticipation was just ratcheting up. Like we knew something special was going to happen. And I think it's probably been since his rookie season, right? That we've seen something like that or just felt that in the building. I think it started off on a good note too, with the giveaway, the oven mitt giveaway. I thought that was a really cool one. That's special. Like for my family, for my brother and I sent him a picture of it because we used to play mini hockey all the time at home. And, we would use an oven mitt. We'd use my mom's oven mitt as a glove, and to see the oven mitt glove as a giveaway item was just so cool to me. Super chat here from Kitty B Kraken. Wow, it's RJ switching it up. This loss still feels like a win. Yeah, this feels like as much of a win as a loss is going to, I think. Like there's so many positives to take away from this one. That first period was amazing too. I mean, I'll break down the things I like the most about that first period. The Jets just couldn't get anything going offensively because every time, and they didn't get through the neutral zone perfectly, the Kraken were coming back at them with speed, and you could tell it threw off a team as good as Winnipeg is to have to face something like that. And I don't think that's something they've really faced all season before. And it was just so cool to see the Kraken be able to do that. And then again, later in the game to come back. There's lots of positives that we'll, I'm sure, get into and dive deeper into in this. Light, you can't not call the interference on Tanev, but call that last penalty, period. They were basically the same play. Yeah, there were a couple that were pretty close to identical plays that, I don't know, I felt like for most of the game, especially early on, the refs kind of let them play. They had stuck to that standard of just not calling very much. And I was okay with it because it was consistent across the board. I think it lightened up on that a little bit as the game went on, and that's maybe where I have a bit of an issue. But I do like how they handled things, at least the first couple periods. I thought they handled it well. But yeah, at the end, I really want to see a replay of that last sequence because I feel like I can't speak about it in an informed way until I've seen it again. But I just didn't have the time before hopping on this. Super chat here from DDB. Monty makes the Stevenson signing look awful. Chandler couldn't move the needle if he was sitting at a sewing machine. Oh man, that's that. I do like that turn of phrase there, but yeah, Stevenson. Dylan and I have been upfront about it from the very start. It was a bad contract the day it was signed. Like he hasn't been awful. Like he's been okay, but look, he's just not the difference maker the contract would suggest. It is what it is. But it's because he's the player that he always was. It's not like he's gotten worse. This is just who he is. So I don't want to blame him. But on the plus side of that, though, Brandon Montour is a beast. He's an absolute beast. He is fantastic again tonight. I mean, the way that he's holding things down without Vince Dunn in the lineup is just so impressive. And I'm trying to look up here how much ice time he ended up finishing with, because I know he was on track for another like 26-minute game, which again is just ridiculous to be doing that night in, night out, and looking as good as he has. I know in the third period, played 26:52, so almost 27 minutes of hockey for Brandon Montour, and a lot of that in the third period too, as the team was trying to come back. And then the shot on Matty Beniers' final goal. Brandon Montour just shoots the puck, and you see it in practice all the time. If you go to practices, just watch him when he's taking point shots. It is the most tippable shot you can possibly have. It's hard to describe. I've said this a few times before, but it just flutters in the right way that makes it really easy to tip. And Matty, of course, was able to get a stick on that, and it's no surprise that shot comes from Brandon Montour. Coop, what's up with all the sweet backies this year? I don't know. I mean, I guess, guys, I'm guessing you mean like, the backhand goals. I mean, but Eberle has always been good at those backhand goals. And this one too, it seemed like it threw Hellebuck off a little bit because Eberle gets that puck with a fair amount of time and space. Great play by McCann to get it down to him. And I think Hellebuck is expecting Eberle to try and turn or pivot or make some other move with it, because that backhand right there, it's kind of a low percentage shot. He puts it basically through Hellebuck's legs, which you'd expect a goalie to stop that. But I just don't think Hellebuck was ready for that, which cool on Eberle to do that. I mean, we saw Jared McCann in a similar situation the other game, right, where he does the fake forehand, then goes to the backhand. I think Hellebuck was expecting something a little bit more like that, trying to go to the side of the net, but Eberle had his number. Everything's going in for him right now. So it's cool to see him get those bounces. And super chat from Andrew here. Thanks for sharing that Oven Mitt family thing. Very cute. Hope your fam is doing well. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate that. Yeah, my family's doing well. I know they're watching this right now as they tune in for, I think, pretty much all of the post game live. So again, just want to give a little shout out to my family as being so supportive as they always are, and shout out to my brother too, who was always my opponent in those mini hockey games. I know we passed the Oven Mitt around a few times, and I sent him a picture of that before the game, and he was pretty thrilled with it. So I think that one's going to be a gift for him. I did get one that's in my backpack right now, so that's going to be a gift for my brother. Heading back up toward the top of chat, we've got lots of people happy with Matty Beniers and how he played. The Bonnie rifle to Matty was gorgeous. This team is different. That's a good thing. Yeah, a lot of kind of what we went over earlier about how this team is just they're a different breed. They come back in games that last year's team would not. B was really hoping we'd be the ones to take down the undefeated Canadian team again, like we did with the Flames. Yeah, I know it was a close effort. This would have been. I had the tweet ready to go from before the game, which maybe you'll get on me for jinxing it, but always have to be prepared, right? This would have been the first time that the Kraken had handed two teams their first loss of the season. They have yet to do that at any point. I think it kind of hurts when you don't win any season openers, but yeah, that would have been really cool to hand two teams, especially two teams that were like 4-0 and then 6-0, their first losses of the season. They haven't done anything like that before, so that was pretty cool. Jenna looked pretty good for a no Dunner game. Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Kraken were able to score 3 without Vince Dunn, which is something that's pretty rare that they've been able to do. And the times they have been able to do it in the past is usually against the Ducks or the Sharks or a team that's just not very good. This was a different case. So they were able to generate some offense without Vince Dunn. I think they're hopefully adapting to it a little bit better now, even though it's just not a good position to be in, without Dunner. Super chat here from Light. With his 11 points in 8 games, McCann is making the case that he isn't just an elite winger, but a star, and we need to talk about him like he is one. Certainly so far this season, he's played himself into that territory. One thing Dylan and I were noticing before the game was that the Jets, as good as they are, 6-0, well now 7-0, looking at their leading scorers, Jared McCann had more points than any of the Jets' leading scorers. And I thought that was pretty cool to see. And then, of course, he adds some more tonight. He was in on every goal and in a big way. I think that's something that might get lost in how good Matty Beniers played, but the work that Jared McCann did to generate really all the goals and play his part in those, I think should not go unnoticed. And so I'm glad you had that super chat there, Light, bringing it up, because Jared McCann is just playing excellent right now. And we saw Matty Beniers just look off for a while to start the season before tonight. You put Matty Beniers on that line with Jared McCann and then Jordan Eberle, who we've talked about already, and he looks amazing. So, I mean, the Kraken are getting some big contributions from their best wingers, and it's making the other guys look good too. And I think McCann did a lot of that tonight. So heading back in chat here. And then Michael, seems like more often than not, the second period is not our best. I agree with that. Certainly the last few games, we've kind of seen this pattern of a fantastic first period. The second period's a bit of a letdown, and then they fight like heck in the third period. I think part of that is a result of just how good the first periods have been, where whether it's this game or it's the last one against Colorado, you go out there and you just dominate the other team in the first period. And I think any respectable team like a Colorado or like a Winnipeg is going to have something to say about that. And I'm sure they're probably getting talked to by the coach at intermission. And so they're going to come out and put on a push. It's just, how do you weather that push? And do you let the bounces kind of go against you? And these last couple games, they maybe haven't weathered it the best. So that's probably an area to look at. But I think it's just a result of how good the first periods have been. You can't expect to dominate like that for a full 60. You just have to kind of manage the momentum of the game, maybe a little bit better in the second. Sean, that fourth line was very bad. Am I starting to openly ask if number 95 is just a liability? Yeah, that's something that Dylan and I noticed, that that fourth line was, I think, I don't know if invisible was the word that he used, but I'll use it here. They weren't really generating much. They weren't really doing much in this game. And I hate to say it, but it just felt like another leftovers line, right? You have Shane Wright, who's played really well, but you've got Andre Burakovsky and you've got Ty Karchi, and it just felt like with the other line combinations, that's the one that was just the leftover guys. And unfortunately, it also feels like you brought up Andre Burakovsky, and it just seems like any line that he's on just becomes the leftovers line. He can't really find a fit on any line so far. And that's kind of been the story for the last really 2 or 3 years, almost ever since he was signed. I really don't know what to do about it at this point. I feel like they've tried a lot of different combinations that just haven't worked. I guess the thing to do about it is maybe just get Shane Wright off of a line like that and see if there's somewhere more productive that you can put him. But I don't know. It's not the best situation, and I hope they're able to find a spot for him. But I feel like you can't sacrifice the other lines that are playing really well in order to do so. Let's see, Daniel, we can hang with anyone after pulling this off tonight. Absolutely. I mean, this was proof, and I think it's going to give the guys, despite the loss, a lot of confidence going forward. Just knowing they can do that. I know Dylan kind of had a question to ask Dan, more or less based off of that too, about kind of what that does for their confidence, knowing they can do that. Let's see, Andrew, last year we lose this game 4-1 after an empty net goal. Agreed. Alex, still think Winnipeg will turn back into a pumpkin per usual. I agree, but it's because they just overplay Hellebuck every year. He looks fantastic early in the season like this, and then they just wear him out by the end of the year. So I think that is probably where they're headed, because they don't seem to have learned that lesson. Yeah, I see more people like William, Lindsay, all happy about the effort, and I'm glad that's kind of where everybody is at this point. So I'll try and kind of skip a few that are kind of more repetitive things we've talked about already. Yeah, Sean here. I do wish our goalies would work on this problem with 1+ per night that, quote, he wants back. Yeah, I figured we'd probably get a comment on the goaltending here. And look, it was not a perfect game from Joey. I'd say there's probably 2 that he wants back. Certainly the one in overtime. Unless anyone, I don't know if anyone can correct me, because again, I only saw it once, just saw the once, not a replay. It looked like that wasn't tipped. And if that's the case, it just squeaks through him. And you really do want to have that, because he was able to square up to it. And then also the Niederreiter goal, I think, to make it 3-1 for Winnipeg. I get that Joey was screened there. It's not an ideal pass to let get across, but man, he bit hard on that pump fake. And I think that's one that a goalie would say, yeah, you know what, I kind of want that one back. I wish I hadn't gone for that pump fake as hard. The goaltending has room for improvement. And we've seen from Joey's play in the past, even from Drew's play in stretches, that it can improve. But yeah, I think that is an area, you can't be giving up 3 goals in regulation every game, even if it's, some good teams like this. And then Chris feeling like the overtime penalty was a dive. Again, I didn't see it well enough. Jessica, so happy the band is back together. Ben Ebbs can. I do like that line. And also, I haven't dug completely into it, but I know Chuck, who's maybe watching this right now, Chuck and Shannon, they sent me an email, sent Dylan and I an email yesterday going over the best pairings of forwards in Kraken history and kind of how they've done, not looking at a full line, but just a pairing of 2. And those numbers would strongly suggest that Beniers with Eberle and McCann is a good thing. So it was interesting seeing that this morning, and then seeing that line kind of come back and play so well tonight. William, the Calder Trophy, Matty may be back. If he plays like this every game, absolutely. Like I want to see this confidence. I want to see this speed. I want to see everything he did tonight. Just bottle that, take that, and do it every game, because he's capable of it. We saw it for a whole season in his rookie year. We know he can do it. Christian Lucan saying getting a point without Vince Dunn. That's right. Yeah, that is huge. So yeah, I think everyone kind of realizing just how close the Kraken were to knocking off a very good team. I love the positivity in here, because that's really the biggest takeaway from this game is just how well the Kraken played. And RJ with the beam, and now I'm finally getting around to everybody kind of reacting to me being on here instead of Dylan. So trying to catch up in chat as best I can. Dylan doing a spot on RJ impression. He does do a pretty good RJ impression when he tries. Let's see. And then Lindsay, technically the Kraken scored 4 goals before the Jets scored the OT winner. Why, Yanni? Yeah, that was a tough one to have taken away. And I think it did affect the guys a little bit too. It was kind of a momentum swing moment, that disallowed goal. It was the right call completely. And I'm glad everybody kind of recognized that on social media. I didn't see any pushback on that, because it was definitely the right call. Yanni's foot was in the crease, stopped Hellebuck from getting across and doing his job. It's absolutely goalie interference. That said, it's I think that puck probably still goes in, even if Yanni's 3 to 4 inches back and doesn't make contact, because that play is just so good. I think it goes in anyway, but that's still not what the rule is. I think someone up here compared it to a pass interference call on an uncatchable ball, which actually by rule then shouldn't be pass interference. But this is, if the rule was different, that's kind of what this feels like. Let's see. Lindsay, the Jess Campbell effect. Maddie working on his power skating with Coach Campbell, and he goes off tonight. I did think about the connection there, because the two of them were working together before the last practice, and you saw the skating work, and Maddie just looks faster this year. And I think he was asked about it a little bit, but obviously you don't want to get too much into the specifics and kind of give away any trade secrets that you may have, but you can tell that the skating just looks different from him this year. And Coach Jess she's going to be able to do that all season too. So this is probably only the beginning. Sean, Disco Dan is the man. Just entirely different vibes than really ever for this organization. Save the run of the playoff. Yeah, absolutely. Dan is great. The coaching staff, all of them are doing so well so far. Maddie, any idea why Stevenson was out in the OT instead of Maddie? That's a good question there. It all comes down to the faceoff. And Dan Bilesman has talked about this in the past. The most important thing in overtime is that opening faceoff, because possession is so key. Once you give it up, it's so hard to get it back. And we actually did see that in overtime, where Stevenson wins the faceoff. The Kraken start off with possession. The Jets do find a way to get the puck back, but once they do, the Kraken never got the puck back after that. And so as dangerous of as a team as Winnipeg is, you have to put your best face-off winning center out there, and that's Chandler Stevenson. So that's why he's going to be out there pretty much to start every overtime. I think if the Kraken had a real chance to get a full change, Maddie was probably coming out there. Let's see. And then Sean pointing out that just the big talent disparity with Dunn out. It is a big point. And yeah, you kind of notice the talent disparity at times, especially in the second, but the Kraken it felt like they were able to be in the right spots to play with them and not make it look like that big of a talent disparity, even though the Jets have a lot of very good players, and it showed up at times during this game. Let's see, going down in chat here. And yeah, be even talking with Maddie there. Imagine it's about the face off there. So Cochon KG, the replay showed on TV made it look like a good call against Stevenson. He didn't do much, but he did trip the Jets player. Okay. And then Sean with the leaked through. So thanks for kind of filling me in after the overtime. Let's see. I want the oven mitts so badly. If they sold it, I would pay good money for it. Well, that stuff's always seems to be available on eBay at some point after the game, so there may still be a chance for you there. Let's see. Trying to catch up and go a little faster, because I think I'll go to the bottom when Dylan gets here. And as I see Dylan in the distance, they're starting to get set up. It's kind of cool being at this vantage point. You can see when the other guy comes over. I wonder if Dylan's mentioned that as I've been starting to get ready, but Dylan's unloading his backpack at the moment. Via Ren here, by period, goals for 5, 10, 10, 1, goals against 9, 9, 5, 1. Okay, so that would actually support the first period being the worst, which I guess at the start of the season, that was kind of the case. Recently, their first periods have been excellent, and maybe that's been a bit of a point of emphasis for them. Sean, the Monty numbers are insane. They really are. He is playing so much. He's playing like a true number one, top number one defenseman, basically, like in playoff time, basically, with how much ice time he's getting. It's a lot of responsibility for him right now. I think Monty is a minute muncher. Absolutely. He's munching some big minutes. And Rebecca Monticelli after the Matty goal was also top tier. He's the whole package. I noticed that too because I couldn't tell who tipped it in front. I was just looking at Montour because he let the shot go. Great celebration. I love how pumped he was there. Sean, number 62 will be my next sweater. That's a really good choice. And he's got the term too, so you don't have to worry about anything. I have a feeling we'll see a lot more 62 sweaters at Climate Pledge Arena pretty soon. Feels like it's going to be a popular one. Appreciate all the hellos to my family there, and my mom even chiming in with the hellos to everybody. And then Sean, I had Berkey talk above, not nice talk though. Yeah, I get more on Berkey. I think we kind of said our piece there. Maddie, at the beginning of the pod, you said you'd be happy with 10 points this month. How are we feeling so far? I'm feeling pretty good so far. I know we're pretty far into the month, but like I think not beyond just the points, it's the underlying stuff, right? It's how does the team look? It's how do we feel like their ability to get future points is, and everything I've seen, all the underlying stuff has been great. And they've gotten points at times where they've needed to also. They've beaten the teams that they're supposed to beat. They win games like the Philly game, the Calgary game. You win those, and that's going to be really important for them as well. So I'm feeling great. I'm feeling absolutely great about kind of the pace they're at right now. Let's see. Jenna, like the Elmer's glue. Dunner like the Elmer's glue for the team. And then Gabrielle, Berkey looks rough on any line he is on. I don't know if it's injuries or lacking confidence from injuries. And we did talk about Berkey a little bit, but I think I see more conversation around here. We can talk about it a little bit more. I don't know. I mean, I felt like in the preseason, at least for that one game, he was kind of past it and had the confidence again. And we've seen flashes of it, at least like late in the preseason, early in the regular season. But I don't know, at this point, I don't know that it's even an injury confidence thing. It's just, I feel like look, he's a distributor. He's not a finisher. He's not going to be a guy. And this was the book on him coming out of Colorado too. Like we need to remember too, like when he was a free agent talking about the pros and the cons of an Andre Burakovsky, one of the downsides was that, yes, he's going to be a great player if you put him with great players. If you put him with skilled players, he's going to be able to produce, but he's not going to create things himself. And I think that's remained true. It's just the Kraken don't have the kind of stars the Avs have to put him with. And so you get a situation where he's not really able to create on his own. The people around him, look, Shane Wright's a good player, but he's still young. Maybe can't drive a whole line himself yet. And Ty Cartier is, I mean, let's be honest, he's a fourth liner. And so you kind of have that result that maybe is predictable. And then Michael's with the super chat here. I was just going to say the same. Ebbs has been a beast all year. Responding to Jenna there. Want to shout out the captain again. What a stud. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Eberle has been fantastic. What is this? 6 goals in 8 games for him now? I mean, what a run to start the season. And they've been huge goals too. As we see Dylan joining us here. And I'm excited. I want to talk more about how great Jordan Eberle is, but I want to have Dylan join us here because I'm eager to hear the takeaways from Bilesma, from the staff, from the players on this one. So let's bring Dylan in here as I make sure to get the right overlay. There we go. Hello, Dylan. Can you hear me?
Yeah. How's it going?
Good. Welcome. How's it going down there? Getting you some reps in before the Toronto game, asking some questions, talking to the players and to Dan. What was the overall mood after this one from everybody? Because the chat in here has been largely positive. I think they recognize how a comeback this was and see all the positive things to be taken out of this one. But do the players and Dan feel the same way?
Yeah, so I would say with the players, it was maybe a little bit more somber. It was a little bit like, you really they're the ones that ultimately had to give that effort, that push to come back, and then you don't see it come all the way, right? You're still walking away feeling like you lost despite what you were able to accomplish there in the third period. So I would say for them, it was maybe a little bit more somber. From Dan, though, I think overall it was a positive, right? It's a night in which the team was able to show that perseverance. They were able to come back into this game. They were able to execute upon the mindset that they had, which was that they were going to come back in this game and pick up a goal and go from there and try to fight and find a way to get something done. And so I think for the people around it was positive, but I think for the players themselves, you really leave everything out there in a situation like that, and you kind of want that reward at the end, and it can be disappointing when it's not there for you.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It's a game that I'm sure really sucks to lose if you're out there on the ice. So that does make sense. Now, you talked about the comeback a little bit, and that was the big story of this one. I know you were curious what kind of Dan would have to say about the comeback aspect of things, because this is something he's kind of ported over from Coachella Valley. This team has that same kind of spirit that they're never out of a game. I'm curious, did he have anything to say about that?
I wasn't able to get
Oh,
it in
no.
there. I know it was
This is why we got to get you the
I know.
reps.
I know. This is why I gotta get the reps. It's a different system than I was used to under Hackstall last time,
Mhm.
so I did not realize I needed to put in my request as early as I was going to need to today, because everybody had questions after this one, right? And people did, he did talk about the comeback, and people did have questions about that. I kind of want to know more so about how he built the culture around it, just because that was the culture in CV, and it's seeming like it's the culture here. But he did talk about, like I said, the big thing for him was just that the team carries that mindset. And we know from talking with him in the past, right? He is all about compete, 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 compete. That is just the way they run. And I think that that's, just kind of where they're at. Is he just builds a culture in which he wants his guys to compete each and every time they're out there on the ice. And by doing that, you then believe that you have the ability to start doing these other things, and you're going to have results like you had tonight, where by going out there late in a game, maybe the other team starts to take their foot off the gas. It's a 2-goal lead, right? It's the most dangerous lead in hockey, and you're able to kind of go in there and make something happen. So I think that's kind of where he's going. But I'll ask. It's a day off tomorrow, so
Oh,
you don't
good
have
to
to worry
know.
about anything, RJ. But I'll ask on morning skate on Saturday.
Sounds good. And then super chat here from Michael asking, wait, if Dylan and RJ switch roles, where's the jacket and tie? I don't think we'll ever catch you wearing a tie, though.
I I was thinking about it for Toronto, just because
Really?
East Coast is a little bit more the vibe. I kind of
Yeah.
feel like that might be the way to go. Something big and important like that. It'll be my first time ever out of the country. First time kind of doing something like that. I can kind of dress up for it. But otherwise, yes, you're far more likely to catch me like Brandon Montour coming into the stadium with like the linen shirt and a light colored suit, no tie, kind of things unbuttoned a little bit. That's certainly much more comfortable for the SoCal kid.
Yeah, no, definitely. Although I would pay to see that, you and the tie. I will match all super chats here.
I
And
should send the bill for the tie along to you. Is that what you're saying?
yes, yes, we'll
Okay.
fund the tie here. I would love to see you in that. And super chat here from Chuck. If you were the Winnipeg coach, how many games would you play Hellebuck? And I know this is something you've talked about plenty on Red Glare. I did mention it briefly about them kind of burning him out. How many games would you play Hellebuck? And then Berkey and Karts was worth a try based on history and expected results. And I did mention earlier also that Chuck sent us that list of pairs of
Yeah.
players that we got the chance to take a look at. But he said it was worth it given the previous results just didn't work out. So we'll start with the first half of that. How many games would you play Hellebuck if you were the Jets coach?
If I'm a team that has a workhorse goaltender, one of the best in the league, guy who's very consistent every year, I would certainly play him. I'd probably play him somewhere in that 45 to 50-ish game range, right? If you can. Obviously, as the season goes, you know if you can get away with that or not. Like at the end of the day, you do need to make the playoffs. You can't be so concerned about saving him for a playoff run that you end up missing it because you give too many games. But I would walk in with that mindset, and then if needed, make alterations around it to maybe up his games. But I mean, he's been playing what, like 60, it feels like upper
Yeah,
50s.
60. Yeah, I think even over 60 if I remember correctly. He's been playing a lot of games as I go
Yeah.
over to his page to see
So maybe
his
even low 50s would just be enough to save some. Or it's one of those things where if you're going to make the playoffs maybe late in the year, you start dialing him back, and you start letting him kind of conserve some energy, because seeding, how really important is it? You know what I mean? Like it's something you and I have talked about many times. It's not that important to us.
yeah, 60, 64, and 66
It's way
games
too
the
much.
last three. All starts, by the way. That many
So
starts the last three seasons.
even 50 to 55 games in that range doesn't sound so bad compared to that.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd cap it at 55, aim for 50 if you can.
Yeah.
As is Light saying, I think 55 games should be the max the Jets want to win in the postseason. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's kind of the case there. Now, the other big topic of discussion here, of course, has been Matty Beniers and the fantastic game that he played tonight. I imagine you guys got the chance to talk to him.
That's it.
What was his take on the game tonight and why he played so well? What was working for him?
He did talk about, how nice it was to be back with Eberle and Jared McCann, and just how natural it is to play with those guys. What a great kind of tear Eberle has been on here recently, and how great it is to play with a player who's kind of going through something like that. Who's just, every time he goes on the ice, seems like he's scoring a goal. But just being able to play with guys that he's comfortable with, he's familiar with where they're going to be on the ice, stuff like that is just, it's nice. It's reassuring, I'm sure, for somebody like that. And yeah, obviously he played a fantastic game, had a great game, was excited to get the first one of the season, kind of get that off his back, which seems like it turns into a storyline every year for him, unfortunately. But he was in good, as good of spirits as anybody could be, despite the loss.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear, and it's good being with his line, those line mates again that he's familiar with. Did he mention anything just personally in his game and how he played, or that? Because I know there's been talk of like Jess working with him in the skating. I know you don't want to give up any trade secrets, right? But
Yeah.
was there anything else? I don't want to like make you check your notes. It's okay.
Look, there wasn't too much, right? Like there was,
Mhm.
like there was.
I know how these things go.
Yes. There was the question was asked of like how good did it feel to get that the third goal for the team, right? The second goal tonight, and it was, yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Now, was there anything from anything from any of the other players or from Dan that stood out to you, kind of, quotes or things that people had to say about this one? I don't know which other players you got.
Like I said, it was kind of because we had Maddie and then we had Jaden Schwartz, and Jaden Schwartz kind of had the same attitude as Dan, which was to almost blow off the idea of talking about the comeback as though it was just like, well, yeah, like that was the expectation kind of thing, right? Like anytime we're in this situation, we expect to be able to do that. We were able to do that tonight.
That.
We weren't able to kind of, finish it off, right? Like that's the vibe that I got from both of them. They didn't say that specifically, but that was very much how they kind of treated it. And I think that that's a healthy attitude, right, for this team to have. It's certainly something that I was kind of excited to see there. And yeah, I think that's all good.
Yeah, I like that attitude. So I'll head back into chat here. And by the way, I'm going to kind of go toward the bottom of chat again. So if there's something there that I skipped over, that I missed, or that you want to talk about, just throw it back into chat. Let us know here. But I do want to scroll up a little bit because there's this one from Coop directed at me. RJ, how about Maddie finally shooting for the roof? Absolute snipe. He's adapting. Dylan, I turn right to you after that goal, and you knew exactly what I was thinking. If Maddie varies his shot selection, he can do this kind of stuff. He can hit those spots. He just needs the confidence to try it. And hopefully he's able to take some confidence forward from this game and keep shooting for those areas, because he can be a sniper if he does that.
I'm super hopeful for that too. And I think that would be a great thing. I think it could really help him unlock and kind of hit that next level offensively. Again, it's something you and I have talked about for a long time now, right? Like that is something that we've wanted to see from him. It did look like it did kind of stick, right? Like there was an element of, I think on that first one, the way he's moving east-west a little bit, it kind of opens it up and he fires it, roofs it, and it felt natural. Like that was just kind of like the natural progression of how a play like that would go. And then later on, there was a situation where he wasn't necessarily moving in that direction, but he still decided to shoot high. And so I do, hopefully something kind of maybe clicked for him in that moment where it was just kind of like, oh, at least against, a really top tier NHL goaltender like Connor Hellebuck, a guy who has a ton of size, who's going to be rock solid down low, although he wasn't on the Jordan Eberle goal. This is maybe what I have to do, right? I had some success doing this. Let me try it again, even though he's coming from it from a different angle, and he still decided to kind of take that shot. So only time will tell if that'll just kind of be the new mentality. But I mean, hopefully we saw the first signs of it maybe becoming a new mentality, just because he did try to repeat it later on.
Yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed. And then Sean, I'm curious your take on this. I already said what I thought, but Sean saying, so the goalies are basically still 1B, 1B, right? Talking about kind of the play of Joey Daccord tonight, and I know there was an earlier comment about it would be nice to just not have it where it feels like every game there's at least one goal where the goalie just kind of wants back. Yeah. What do you think of Joey's play tonight, and did anyone have anything to say about that?
Yeah, everybody kind of asked about Joey. Jing Schwartz. Look, he made good saves. He makes good saves for us. He
Well, no
plays
no
well as a
player is gonna
defender, right? Like they're not
really
going to
bully
say
under the
anything.
bus there.
Coach, same thing kind of from Dan, right? But like I
Okay.
think there is an element of at least on my end, just kind of watching these games now. I feel like the team is more solid when Joey is in net, right? Like it feels like there is just more confidence in the air, in the arena, right? When Joey is in net. That being said, I don't know so far over the course of this homestand, because we kind of talked about maybe at the end of this homestand, you make the call on one guy is maybe outplaying the other guy and you start breaking away from the rotation and maybe leaning a little bit more in one direction. I don't know that really definitively you could make that call based on this homestand so far, right?
Yeah,
Like I
nobody I
don't,
think has pulled away quite
yeah.
yet, and so might as well continue that rotation. This one from Amanda, unrelated, saw Landon DuPont sitting in front of me at the game, so that's cool. Taking an NHL game, the prolific young junior star.
I was going to say, off to an insane tear, better than a point per game pace as a 15-year-old defenseman in the WHL. Incredible to have him kind of in the backyard here up in Everett, RJ. I was looking at him the other day. I was kind of watching tape of him with Everett for the first time, and I looked at like two plays, and I was just like, I have to find a way to go and watch him in person. Like I just have to. It would be criminal for me to like wait too much longer without getting to see him.
Are you going to wear the Portland Winterhawks hat that you bought during the game today?
If they're playing the Winterhawks, yes.
Okay.
And then the reason for that, everybody,
I hadn't
before
brought that up
everybody
yet,
jumps,
but
I was gonna say before everybody jumps
let
on
him
me
have it.
here, as former Portland Winterhawk Nino Niederreiter kind of hits the Kraken for 2 goals tonight, which maybe wasn't great for everybody either. It's because they unveiled their Halloween collection, and I really liked the hat that was part of that. And I need
It
hats
does
up
look
here.
cool.
I need hats up here, especially as a glasses wearer with the rain as we're going into the rainy season. I'm not going to use an umbrella, right? So I got to at least get a hat or something, keep the rain off my glasses, and yeah, I wanted to get something there.
Yeah,
But
no,
yes,
fair
feel free
enough.
to boo
Fair
me,
enough. It does
everybody.
look
I
cool.
totally
Yeah,
get it.
let Dylan have it in the chat, everyone. But I will get ahead of it right now because we do have a nice comment from Maddie saying, proud of Dylan for getting the post-game reps. Keep them coming. So I'll throw
Yeah,
some positivity at you there
appreciate it.
before all the negativity. And then Maddie actually
Before Maddie
tells me,
booing me,
boo,
yes, later.
boo,
Yeah,
Portland,
it's all good.
boo.
Yeah.
So thank you, Maddie, for both of those. That's great. And then Jenna saying, don't forget our ECH T-Birds field trip. Yeah, we got to
Yes.
make something like that work.
Yeah, I did talk about that on the prospect chat. That is something I want to do this year.
Nice. Yeah, can't wait for that.
Has
Let's
I don't know. There's one thing that I wanted to talk about with this one, and I don't know if it's been talked about or not yet. So sorry if I'm just
go
kind of
ahead.
jumping in here. And that's just the idea of how great it is both with last game and then this game, where they are able to kind of halfway complete the comeback, at least pick up a point. Just that when this team is going to play kind of top tier teams, whether it's on paper or in the standings, right? Winnipeg was undefeated coming into this one. They were a really good team. Just the fact that this team can hang with them, right? Like that
Yeah.
they really are doing a good job of that through a lot of the games. I think one of the common threads for Dan tonight was that they got to work on things in the second period, right? I think kind of both of these games started well, finished well. The middle, maybe not exactly what you'd want to see. So I think that's something that it'll be interesting to see as this more of the season goes on, if that's something that they can kind of rein in. But hey, look, if you're going to um, if you're going to dominate two periods, right? First and third are probably the two that you want to kind of control things and play your best hockey in. So probably not like a huge emergency for them. But I just think watching this game, watching them work to come back, even if it was just going to finish like 3-2 in regulation, I would have kind of taken that, just because it does show that this team has taken a step forward from last year's team. They are going to play good teams. They're not going to get blown out by good teams. That's not the way this team is. Even if you go back to that Dallas game, right? They did not get blown out by Dallas, even though you could look at it and say that and the St. Louis game, maybe their two worst games so far this season. And so I think that's very encouraging. And then I was also sitting there and I was thinking, having Vince Dunn available to you, what does this game look like? What does the game a game ago look like against Colorado, because I think he's somebody that just lets you, especially if you're going to play strong in the third period, you maybe just need one goal or it's a tie game, or even if you're defending a lead. I think just being able to rotate him with Montour in those situations would really kind of help open things up, instead of kind of just having to rely on Montour in these late game situations, play him a ton of minutes. You'd be able to really get into a rotation of having guys like Riker, Montour, and Dunn cycling through, making sure you always have at least one of them on the ice, preferably two. If it's going to be like under 10 minutes, you could probably get away with that. And I think that that's going to be something really fun to look forward to whenever Vince Dunn comes back, because I think he himself can kind of help make the difference in games like tonight.
Yeah, Dunn is going to be a huge boost when they get him back, and especially with how many close games they've played. Like, it's going to be massive for them. And on the second period thing, that actually was brought up a lot toward the start of this the post game live, where people were talking about the second period. Actually, Viren brought up the stats, and like overall on the season, technically their first period has been the worst. But certainly recently, that second period trend has been a thing, and their first period's been fantastic. And I don't know if you agree with this, but I was trying to maybe give an explanation for it. I feel like part of it is almost just how well they're playing in the first, that the other team is really trying to get back in it. And they're good teams, right? Colorado, Winnipeg, they get dominated in the first period like that, they're going to come out and put on a heck of a push in the second.
Right. Well, and I think that, one of the things we talked about with the Colorado game, and we've talked about it with some other games, has just been second period, the Kraken have come out and played well. Which team is going to make adjustments after any period in which one team plays well and the other team maybe doesn't, right? Or the other team isn't able to control pace, which is something that and dictate play, which is the number one thing coaches are looking to do, right? It's going to be the team that wasn't able to do it, right? So by the Kraken just naturally starting strong, it means that the other team is going to make their adjustments for the second period. You then, if you're the Kraken, you go out there trying to do the same thing you were doing, because you're not going to fix what ain't broke, right? But the other team has now made adjustments. You then need that second period to see what they're doing, come back, go in for the second intermission, come back out in the third period with your adjustments. Now the other team doesn't really know what's going on, right? Like, that's just kind of the natural swing, but it shows how important it is to play well, dictate pace in that first period, because it then means you have the leg up in two periods of the game instead of only one. And I think that that's really important. And one of the things that I was actually texting about with my mom during the game, because she was bringing up the fact that we're really seeing consistency with these coaching interviews during the second intermission. And she brought up, and I don't know why I hadn't thought of this, RJ, but my mom brought up, I wonder if that's so Dan can really get all the players in the room. Nobody's out, nobody's missing focus, and they can really make those adjustments for the third period and just kind of all lock in, all be on the same page, dial it in, and then get out there for it. And I don't know if that's the case, but I certainly think that, based on what we've seen them do in third periods, the way they've made adjustments and come out strong to finish hockey games, I can't say that I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, that is an interesting observation. I wonder if there's actually something to that. I hadn't thought about it like that before. Now I want to get to the super chat because it's been sitting here for a couple of minutes. So thank you, Andrew. Here, off-topic question: at what age did you guys learn ice skating, and what was your experience? So Dylan, I'll let you tackle this one first.
Yeah, so I learned how to skate the week I turned 3. That was when I got in there. It was something that I really pushed my parents for. I wanted to play hockey, and both my parents were hockey fans before I was born. I really wanted to play hockey, and so kind of waited just about as long as they kind of felt like they could, and then I got in there that week I turned 3.
I don't remember when exactly I learned to ice skate, and it's not because I was young. I actually just didn't get into it until later age. I learned to rollerblade at 8 because growing up in Southern California, there was a lot more roller hockey around. So I started at age 8 rollerblading, and then I didn't really ice skate regularly at all until I was 18 and went off to, or 17, I guess, and went off to college, and then started playing ice hockey because that's what was around. So, I didn't really start ice skating or playing ice hockey till 18.
Yeah, no, it's funny too that you bring this up, because I was just having a conversation with somebody yesterday about. I think it was really beneficial that I learned how to skate at a young age, just because I feel like it really helped with coordination, and it helped with things like not getting hurt when falling, right? Because one of the first things they'll teach you in any kind of ice skating class especially one for kids, is just how to fall, and just kind of always having that now just kind of built into me from such a young age, when you can fall and you're not going to get hurt, as a toddler, right? Like toddlers are built to fall. They're still like learning how to walk. I was out there on skates. You're not falling from a great height because you're barely off the ground as it is. You're unlikely to get hurt, and I do think that is something that I would recommend for people with kids, is to get them out there on the ice, let them learn how to ice skate, because it'll help them with their coordination, and then help them, with things like when you inevitably fall down in life, don't stick your hand out to try to break that fall. You'll just sprain your wrist or worse, like stuff like
Yep.
that. Don't land on the tailbone, right? Like it has saved me, I feel like.
Yes, definitely some good habits learned. I plan on getting my kids started young with that when the time eventually comes. And then also, good to see you're learning the local culture. Edward says, I'm not going to use an umbrella. Dylan's learning the local culture, although
Yes.
you've got some Washington ties, so I think you've been familiar with it for a little bit.
Yes, no, that would have been, I feel like, way worse than if I was just wearing a piece of Portland Winterhawks merch. If people spotted me out in public with an umbrella, I don't know that I could show my face here anymore.
Yeah, that is true. And then Maddie's saying, as a glasses wearer, I recommend buying wintertime contacts. And I know you're working on that. I know you're
Yes.
trying to get used to those, but it's difficult taking them out of your eye, I gather.
Yes, that is what I'm struggling with. But yeah, I plan to get on the contacts thing here soon.
Yep. And then let's see. Maddie also asked you, do you think Kale will get any reps over Mahura?
I don't know. I feel like Mahura is a really experienced NHL defenseman. I feel like he's actually been playing pretty well. I know he's not getting a ton of ice time, but I feel like he's been really solid and somebody that they can depend on, and he's done well in the limited looks we've seen from him.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so I don't think there's anything that's really going to kind of cause that change. We know how much Dan loves Kale, though, but I think for
Yes.
now he's going to kind of be the up and down pay per transaction kind of
Again,
guy.
if you didn't have somebody who could arguably be an every night player on a lot of other teams, I think you could then expect to see Kale worked in. But just because Josh Mahura is so solid and is such a guy, I think we might not see it.
Yeah, and then Viren
I
also
will say
still
this
has.
though. Oh, sorry. We did see a Hayden and Kale Fleury meetup down there outside the locker rooms tonight, so that was cool to see.
Nice. I was wondering if we might see that. Yeah, both of those guys healthy scratches, but they're in the
Yep.
same building again. That's cool to see them reunited tonight. And then Viren just saying still has the lefty righty issue there as well, where Mahura is kind of more on the natural on the left side and such. So that is an important thing to consider there. And then Lindsay, I just wanted to get her comment on the skating thing. Wish I had started skating earlier, but I've come a long ways for starting to skate at age 24. I've seen you play, Lindsay. You certainly have. You've gotten like so much better. I think I saw around the start of when you started playing hockey, and yeah, you have come a long way, and you're great team captain also. Had the privilege of playing a couple games for your team there. Let's see, where
Never
should
too
we
late
go
to
next?
learn, that's for sure.
Yes, that's something I want everyone to grasp and take away. If you're thinking about it at all, it is never too late to learn how to skate, learn how to play hockey. There's the rest of your lifetime of joy potentially ahead of you if you learn. I've never met anyone who's regretted it. Now let's see. I know there was talk about Ty Karche in here. My light being a downer moment for tonight is that Karche has not impressed me this season yet. Feels like he's playing nervous. And then see, was there another comment? Steven, well, Karche has reached a ceiling. He's a fourth line grinder. Expectations shouldn't be more than that. And then Light saying, I think Karche could max out as a 15-ish third liner, but he's looking like a max potential fourth liner, which is why I'm disappointed. And it's at 15 goals. What's your read on Ty Karche? Because I'm kind of more in the camp that I feel like, look, was an undrafted free agent, worked his way to get here, but at the end of the day, fourth line grinder is kind of what he is.
It is. It's his style of play. It's probably realistically his skill ceiling too is somewhere in there. Maybe being able to flex up into the top 9 in some sort of third line role. But I think that would be something that you would see on teams with less depth. I think certainly for this group and really for the foreseeable future for this group, just because of all the guys that are already starting to perform in Coachella Valley, the fact that the Kraken are going to kind of always be able to find top 9 wingers. I think realistically that is it, which, it feels like you're really putting a damper on what it is that he does and brings and what he can do. But realistically, as you said, right, as an undrafted player, he's already outperformed any expectation that anybody really could have had for him. just in the ability to be undrafted and then come up and play in the NHL postseason later that year. Right, it is a Cinderella story that we've seen unfold, and I know we were along for the ride, and you build that emotional connection to the player with that. But like, yes, when you are talking about kind of the ceiling, the skill ceiling, and overall potential for somebody, there's a reason he went undrafted, right? If he had the ability to be a 40 goal scorer or something, probably wasn't going to be in that situation, probably wasn't going to come in the way he did. And so it's not to say it never happens, but it's even that much more unlikely. But yes, just because it kind of happens so soon in the Kraken's lifespan, I think we kind of, and then you're seeing it with like a guy like Leighton Road kind of following in similar footsteps. You're seeing it from other guys. Yanni Gourde obviously being on the roster as another undrafted guy, it makes you think that like this is something that kind of happens regularly, and it just really does not. He is so far and away an exception to the rule already that I think it's okay to just kind of be happy for him that, hey, look, it at least looks like he can be a regular fourth line guy who can have a long career because he does have some skill, because he is a guy that can probably push towards 15 goals every season. That's going to keep him employed for a very long time. He's going to be able to build a nice future for his family and take care of them. And that's really, really cool. And I think that that's something that we can all still be happy with and happy for him and support him in.
Yeah, that's a big accomplishment in itself. And now, speaking of kind of being happy for people, I want to go back to the skating conversation because we've got some great chats in here from that. Super chat we'll start with from Andrew. It's never too late, guys. Thanks a lot for the motivation. Means a lot for us later learners. Like, absolutely. I'm glad everyone's kind of coming away with this message. And I want to read a few of these chats because we've got a few different people in here talking about their stories. Sydney started figure skating at 20 and hope to start hockey at 28 next year. So much fun. That is awesome to hear. I know you're going to love it. And then Elbel, it's encouraging to hear skating helped with coordination. My clumsy 6-year-old had her first ice skating lesson last week, so I have hope for her now. Yeah, that's going to be great. Must be so awesome, too, as a parent, having a 6-year-old kind of getting into skating and starting all of that. That is awesome. And Lindsay, there's 70-plus-year-olds still in the Kraken Hockey League, so it truly never is too late. Body in motion stays in motion. That is very true, Lindsay.
Yeah.
So love seeing all the messages there. And then Christian, I'm a 40-year-old who's always dreamed of playing hockey. I'm definitely going to start taking lessons at KCI as soon as I get up the opportunity. I begged my dad as a kid, but he said it was impossible. You know what? In life's long enough, it's never impossible. So love hearing that from you, Christian, as well. This is great. I think it's a fantastic note to kind of end things on, or at least do a last call for everybody as we approach the hour mark. But it brings me so much joy hearing about people kind of learning to skate, getting into hockey. That's, Dylan, that's one of our favorite things about doing this, is getting people into watching hockey and enjoying the NHL. But there's that whole other separate joy of playing hockey as well that I hope so many people find.
Yeah, no, it's such a fun sport to play, and even just ice skating is just such a fun thing to be able to go and do. Even if you just do it occasionally, a couple times a year, it's just a fun kind of group outing thing you can do it with your significant other, kid, whoever, right? And you can it's different from anything you're going to do in your everyday life, and you can really have fun with it. And yeah, I mean, I hope she doesn't mind, but I'll talk about my girlfriend who learned how to skate during last season. And went through the skating classes at KCI, really honed her stuff, and then just this semester, we'll call it, started the Learn to Play program at KCI, and she's having a ton of fun with it. I definitely recommend doing the Learn to Skate before Learn to Play. I would recommend that if anybody wants to kind of go this route, I would take a couple of the skating classes, really kind of get yourself to a good level there, and then make the jump over, because as my girlfriend's learning, and most people in her class are learning, once you throw the pads on, you're already kind of learning how to skate a little bit all over again, just having all the gear on, and the pants and the shin pads and all of that kind of stuff. So I think get your skating as good as you can kind of first, go up a couple levels, work on that edge work, make sure you can do crossovers, all that kind of stuff, and then make that jump. But know that they run great programs there at KCI, and you're going to be taken care of, and you're going to have fun. Everybody walks out of that class sweaty, but with big, big smiles on their face.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember last year too when some of the TV guys tried it for like a TV segment, right, for one of the Kraken
Yeah.
shows, and they were so exhausted afterward, but they had an absolute blast. And you know, they were probably in their 40s, 50s, right? But they loved it. So it's again, it's never too late to give that a try. Would highly recommend it. All right, last few chats here, and all got the nice heart there from Julia. So that's
Yeah. There
nice
we
to
go.
see.
Yeah.
And then, so we got Coop, who got the belt, but I don't think they give out the belt on a loss, so I don't think there's anyone
Yeah.
new for the belt, right?
Yeah. No,
Um,
I did not see it.
yeah, Michael needs a heads up on the next watch party, so he can fly up to Seattle and join
We'll
in the
do.
fun.
No, we will.
Yep. And then, let's see, Light, I'll just reiterate, the Kraken were handed a rough schedule to start the season, already locking down a 500 homestand, and that rough stretch is how you build to the postseason. Absolutely. Like we talked about at the start of the season, the points pace they need to get to just get through those first 20 games, they're doing it.
Yeah, they are. This was, we said, a successful first month, a successful month of October for them would be basically 500. We thought, looking at the schedule, they were going to be capable of maybe doing that. Maybe even optimistically, we thought they would be that way, but it certainly looks like it's very doable for them now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good start so far, and continues at Saturday's game, as Sarah says. Sarah's daughter and her will be there at the game. Hope to see you there. You know, the two of us will be there. That's for sure. And I can't wait. I mean, I feel like I want to kind of keep this thing rolling after a good effort tonight, and I'm just looking forward to Saturday.
Yeah, I am too. I think, it's going to be a fun one against the Hurricanes. I feel like the Kraken always play them well, especially early in the season. It's always kind of one of those fun games that we've been able to experience. But really, it's kind of crazy, right, to walk out of these last two games with only a point, but for all of us to just kind of feel so positive about it all, because this team is they're playing well. They're playing good teams tough. They're making good teams really work for it. They're winning multiple periods. Like everything this team is working on right now is really, really positive. It gives me so much optimism for the rest of the season too. And yeah, it's just super exciting.
Yeah, win or lose, the vibes are good. They've been good tonight, and I hope they're going to stay good on Saturday. And so until then, we will see you all next time.